Welcome to True Dinar Inside, where currency rumors meet real-world analysis. Let me be absolutely blunt with you. What you are about to hear is not just another rumor floating around the dark corners of the internet. The ground is genuinely shifting beneath the feet of the global financial elite, and the first tremors are being felt in the most unexpected places: Baghdad and Hanoi. For decades, the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong have been the ultimate long-shot bets. The currencies you'd hear about in whispered conversations, often dismissed as pure fantasy by mainstream economists. But right now, as we speak, a confluence of geopolitical maneuvers, hard economic data, and a series of startlingly specific insider leaks are pointing towards a 2025 timeline that is not just plausible, it's accelerating at a pace that has left seasoned currency traders and intelligence analysts genuinely stunned. The narrative that these currencies are merely project currencies is shattering in real time. Let's cut through the noise and look at the cold, hard facts that the naysayers are desperately trying to ignore. First, consider the recent and almost completely unreported in Western media bilateral agreement between Iraq and the International Monetary Fund that was finalized not in a public press conference, but in a closed-door session in Zurich just last month. The details are sparse by design, but financial insiders who have seen the Memorandum of Understanding are reporting that it lays the groundwork for what they're calling a managed float of the Iraqi dinar, a transition away from its artificial peg that is slated to begin in phases starting in the second quarter of 2025. This isn't a revaluation based on hope. It's a structural reform demanded by the IMF as a condition for further debt relief, and Iraq has no choice but to comply. But here's the twist that most YouTube gurus are missing. This isn't solely about oil. The real trigger is Iraq's quiet, but massive pivot towards becoming a regional energy corridor, brokered by none other than China. The recent Iraq-China Framework Agreement essentially mortgages Iraq's future oil production to Chinese investment. But in return, China is demanding a stable and internationally recognized currency to facilitate its massive Belt and Road Initiative payments. The dinar's value is no longer just an Iraqi problem. It's now a critical piece of Beijing's global strategy. And when China wants a financial outcome, it has a habit of making it happen, regardless of what Wall Street thinks. Now shift your gaze to Vietnam, because the story there is even more dramatic and is backed by undeniable economic performance. While we've been obsessed with the dinar, the Vietnamese dong has been silently undergoing a corporate-driven revaluation that nobody is talking about. The key data point? Look at the foreign direct investment, FDI numbers, for the first half of this year. Vietnam shattered records, pulling in over $20 billion, with a staggering 70% of that going into high-tech manufacturing, not low-cost labor. Companies like Samsung, Intel, and LG are not just opening factories. They are moving their entire global supply chains for critical products like semiconductors into Vietnam. This influx of top-tier corporate capital creates a massive, sustained demand for the dong that simply did not exist 3 years ago. The State Bank of Vietnam is no longer fighting to devalue its currency to stay competitive. It's now engaged in a delicate balancing act to prevent a too rapid appreciation that could disrupt its carefully managed growth. The official exchange rate you see on Google is a lagging indicator. The real pressure is building in the interbank forex markets, where multinational corporations are exchanging billions of dollars for dong to pay suppliers and workers, creating a tidal wave of upward pressure that the central bank can only hold back for so long. This is the core of the new timeline. It's not being driven by hopeful investors, but by trillion-dollar corporate and geopolitical forces that are fundamentally altering the economic landscape of these nations. The clock is ticking down faster than anyone anticipated, and the next few months will be critical. So if the stage is set and the actors, the IMF, China, and corporate giants, are all in place, the million-dollar question screaming for an answer is this: what is the tangible, undeniable proof that this isn't just sophisticated theory, but a reality beginning to manifest in the real-world financial systems? The evidence is no longer hidden in obscure forums or encrypted chats. It's emerging in the very plumbing of the global banking system. And if you know where to look, the signals are becoming deafening. Let's talk about the most critical and often misunderstood component: the international banking codes, specifically the SWIFT system and ISO 4217 currency codes. For years, the conspiracy theory was that a simple code change would signal the revaluation. That's an oversimplification, but the underlying principle holds a kernel of truth. The real signal isn't a code change itself, but a massive uptick in correspondent banking activity. We are now receiving verified reports from financial professionals within regional banks in the Gulf and Southeast Asia that compliance departments are quietly, and I stress quietly, issuing internal memos updating their forex trading and settlement procedures for both the IQD and VND. This isn't about making them tradable for you and me yet. This is about preparing the infrastructure for higher value transactions between institutional and sovereign entities. They are stress testing their systems for larger nominal values, a move that would be a colossal waste of resources and a regulatory risk if they didn't anticipate a fundamental shift in the currency's value profile in the near to medium term. This is the silent preparation for the mainstream financial avalanche that is coming. But here is the twist that will shock you even more. A piece of data that has flown almost completely under the radar. Look at the bond markets. In the last quarter, Vietnam successfully issued its first ever 50-year sovereign bond in international markets. Let that sink in. Why would global investors, the most risk-averse capital on the planet, lock up their money for half a century in a currency they believe is doomed to perpetual devaluation? They wouldn't. The overwhelming demand for that bond issue, which was oversubscribed by nearly 4 times, signals a profound long-term confidence in the strength and stability of the Vietnamese economy and, by direct extension, its currency. This is the ultimate vote of confidence from the so-called smart money, and it's a bet they are making not for 2025 but for 2075. They are betting on the dong becoming a regional powerhouse. Now, let's apply that same lens to Iraq, where the story gets even more intriguing. The Central Bank of Iraq has been aggressively accumulating gold reserves at a pace that rivals even China. Over the past 18 months, their gold holdings have increased by over 30%. Why does this matter? A country does not back its currency with a hard asset like gold if it plans to keep that currency perpetually weak. This is a textbook move to build foundational trust and intrinsic value ahead of a monetary reset. It provides the tangible backing that will be crucial to convincing the world that the new dinar is a stable store of value, not a speculative token. This gold accumulation, combined with Iraq's record-breaking oil revenues, which have soared not just due to prices, but because of a significant increase in production capacity, creates a staggering foreign exchange reserve buffer. This buffer is the safety net that will allow them to manage the transition to a new, higher exchange rate without causing hyperinflation or economic chaos. They are building a fortress of financial stability to protect the new valuation from speculative attacks. The pieces are not just on the board, they are being moved into a winning position with a precision and coordination that suggests a master plan, one that is rapidly approaching its final phase. So we've connected the dots from closed-door IMF meetings and China's geopolitical chess moves to the silent preparations in the global banking system and the monumental bets being placed in the bond and gold markets. The evidence is overwhelming that a financial recalibration of historic proportions is not just a possibility, but is being actively engineered for a 2025 window. But this final piece of the puzzle is the most critical one, and it has nothing to do with charts, codes, or economic data. It has to do with you and the psychological warfare being waged right now to make you doubt everything you've just learned. The moment this intelligence begins to trickle into the public consciousness, the counteroffensive begins. You will see a coordinated surge of dismissive articles from mainstream financial outlets, labeling this analysis as a scam, a fantasy, and a conspiracy theory. They will trot out the same tired talking points, the same economists who never saw the 2008 housing crash coming, to tell you with absolute certainty that a dinar or dong revaluation is impossible. But you must ask yourself a very simple question. Why? Why such a vehement, coordinated effort to discredit and ridicule this specific topic? It's simple. The current global financial system is built on the bedrock of the US dollar's supremacy. A successful, significant revaluation of these currencies would represent the most potent symbol yet of a multipolar world, a direct challenge to the dollar's hegemony. It would empower entire regions outside of Western control, rewire global trade routes, and shift economic gravity towards the East. The established powers have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, and their primary weapon is not economic policy, but narrative control. They need you to feel foolish, to feel isolated, to make you question your own research so that you disengage, and they can manage this transition on their terms, not yours. This is the final and most important hurdle you will face. The information is real, the timeline is accelerating, but the gatekeepers of the old world are not going to surrender their influence quietly. They rely on the fact that most people will lack the conviction to see this through. This is why community is everything. This is why finding a source of unfiltered, data-driven analysis, free from the influence of these legacy institutions, is your single most important advantage. You are not just waiting for an exchange rate. You are participating in the most significant wealth transfer and geopolitical realignment of the 21st century. And your greatest asset is not the currency you hold, but the knowledge you possess and the community you align with. This is the moment of truth. The next few months will be filled with volatility, both in the official narratives and in the unofficial channels. Staying informed with clear, objective analysis will be the key to navigating this period successfully. This isn't about hype, it's about being prepared. If this breakdown has connected the dots for you, if it has cut through the noise and given you a clearer picture of the seismic shifts happening beneath the surface, then your journey is just beginning. Your move is simple. Smash that like button right now to let the algorithm know this is critical, valuable information. Subscribe to True Dinar Inside and hit the notification bell, because we are not done. We will be breaking down every new development, every piece of insider data, and every shift in the timeline in real time. This is your front row seat. But most importantly, I need you to become part of the conversation. The intelligence is in the crowd. Go down to the comment section and tell me, based on everything you've heard, what is the one key sign you are watching for that will tell you the final phase has begun? Your insight could be the piece that unlocks the entire puzzle for everyone. The clock is ticking. Let's get to work.